in your opinion, are the three big mega trends we need to look out for in the coming decade?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, so I think the first one is how much inflation is going to be associated with the transition to a low carbon economy, right? So that's something that I think most people want, to transition to renewable power. But that's going to involve costs, potentially significant costs. And how much of that is society willing to endure? So how much inflation is good? And I don't know the answers to this. I'm just saying, I think that's like, we really need to how much is it going to cost to transition to a low carbon economy? And are we willing to pay that cost? I think that's critical. Will the existing, so that's trend number one. Number two, will the existing independence of central banks remain? Because if you follow the logic of the things we've been talking about, central banks have become more and more entrenched in supporting the market. Why? Because they don't want bad market conditions to spill over into the real economy. Eventually, that basically becomes a political thing where the government just says, yeah, you have to intervene. And I think we're already pretty close to that. So I suspect the era of central banks being independent of central governments is probably already over, but it's going to end. And then what does that mean? Does that mean that we lose faith in the currencies issued by central banks because they're no longer independent? In which case, is there a crypto alternative, or is there some other monetary arrangement that's going to replace that? I think that will play out over your career. I don't know about mine, but that will happen. So I think we'll see in the next 20 years kind of a rethinking, a reorganization of monetary kind of monetary regime. And then kind of linked to my first point, but it's just, ESG, is it achieving its goals or not? Right. So ESG is social, environment, and social governance, basically trying to embed social values into investment decisions. And I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think it's been promoted as a kind of win-win situation, right? You have an ESG mandate and you're doing good for the climate, and you're going to earn higher returns for your investors. I'm not convinced that's right. And so I think there's a huge amount of momentum behind ESG, and people are going to start questioning, is it really a win-win? And people might still want to do it whether or not it's a win-win, because they might think it's good for the environment. But I think they'll even question whether or not it's good for the environment. So what direction environmental and social governance investing takes is the other megatrend I would look at.